How on earth does fishing work, and how do I get the most out of this resource? If you're thinking about questions like these, hopefully this video will help. One of the first things you'll notice when you assign a family to the fishing hut is that all 3 people in the family will work. As soon as a fish is caught, the worker carries it back to the hut and in the process may use a road to get there. Notice here that after I put a more effective road for them, they actually use it. So that cuts down on the walking time. So the tip here is to build a ring road around the pond because the pond has specific fishing spots and it's our job to make sure that they get to and from these spots in the most efficient way. And because everyone in the family can fish, one family member occasionally leaving to do house chores, like this lady here, would result in a drop in your fishing output. Now this is unavoidable. They do this from time to time, once a month for water and once more for fuel. So the idea here is you not only want to assign a family that's close to the hut, you also want to make sure that the goods stall in the marketplace and the water well is also close by to their burgage plot. Now this may not always be possible, but it's something to take note of because as you can see, it does take several days just to complete one chore. And with only 3 workers per family, that's a loss of 33% of your workforce for 1 to 2 weeks a month. 1 week if you've managed to get your placements right, 2 weeks if you haven't. I'm highlighting the 3rd family member here, the son, and you can see he's just left. Now he's going to get fuel. Right after mom just came back from doing the water. So you can see how transporting water and fuel does play a significant role in affecting your overall fishing efficiency. Now I'm going to skip forward a couple of days. He's finally back at the fish pond and you can see that he's now picking a different fishing spot. This time it's much further away from the fishing hut, and that's just a fact of how the availability of the fish changes as you deplete the resource. So the more you extract from the fish pond, the longer each subsequent fish takes to get harvested. And you can see in the records tab how the fish extracted per month with the same family is dropping every month. So you might start with something like 37 or 38 fish a month, but it gradually slows down to just over 20 a month. This number here is for one family, and we can use this to calculate an average, which we can do some magic with later on. But for now, it's the start of a new month, and you can see someone's already back to doing chores. In this case, the son is going to the water well to resupply the burgage plot. And now he's back to work, and where's the available fishing spot? It's now all the way across on the other side of the pond. So if you do go to your records tab and look at how your carp or eel are being extracted, you should see a descending graph like this, where the extraction rate is pretty high in the beginning and slowly trends down as the number of available fishing spots gets fewer and fewer. So I mentioned a minute ago that you should build a ring road around the pond, and this is what a ring road looks like. Right now it's winter. I'm just fast forwarding through this period where there's no fishing going on. There's definitely no growth going on. But in case you're wondering, take a look at the number of fish. We have 70 right here, and in a moment it's going to jump to 98. So on the 1st of March, the number of fish increases by 40% of the current number. Now this will happen 2 more times. One on April 1st goes from 98 to 138. That's another 40% increase. And with the magic of editing, on the 1st of May, it goes from 138 to 194. Again, exactly 40%. Now at this point in the research, I actually spent a couple hours watching all these workers, and I timed them and basically confirmed my suspicion that the fishing rate slows because the fishing spots get further and further away from the fishing hut. And on the point of fishing spots, there are in fact 11 of them, as you can see here. I've chosen red to indicate an available fishing spot, and as the pool drops below 40% capacity, spots will begin to disappear, which I've chosen to indicate as a spot turning white. I have 12 workers at the moment, so that's from 4 families split between 2 fishing huts. So that explains why you're seeing so many workers. Just watch how fishing spots start to disappear and turn white, where the workers don't return there, as long as the number of fish continues to deplete. At this point, it's starting to get really inefficient because we're down to 6 or 7 spots, which means not only is the fishing rate halved, it also means that 2 of the 4 families are also doing nothing. Now, again, I want to clarify, the number of fishing spots only start to decrease when your capacity goes below 40%, at which point adding more families won't increase your fish extraction rate. And the reason that is there are just no fishing spots left. In a way, this feature of fishing ponds does help to prevent the possibility of accidentally fishing the pond down to 0 fish, which will be extremely bad. But in most cases, you shouldn't reach this point, or at least if you take my recommendations at the end of the video, you won't. So we just passed April 1st, and you can see that fishing spots start to return very quickly, and the idle workers very quickly respond and basically come back to work. But since we got so low in March, a 40% increase is not that much. So you can see spots immediately start to disappear again. Again, don't go below 40%. Doing so will take more than 3 growth spurts to get back to 100%. So that's more than 1 year. And if you make the mistake of going down to 10%, you're now down to 3 fishing spots. That's going to take 3 years to recover. And trust me, you don't want to get into the situation where you could have been fishing 300 fish a year down to 30 a year because you got greedy one time. Okay, so it's May 1st. That's the 3rd and last growth spurt of this year. You can see the number of fish didn't increase that much. A couple new fishing spots appeared, but they're basically gone instantly. And since we're already in May, there's not going to be any more growth for the rest of the year. So if you do continue, you will go down to 5% and 2 fishing spots and eventually to 1. It does take a whole month to get there, so I'm going to fast forward to June. And at this point, with 1 fishing spot left, you only have a couple weeks to catch this, or something bad is going to happen. Believe it or not, with 8 fish, if you do catch it and stop fishing, you can actually recover this to full in 3 to 4 years, but only if you catch it. But if you miss it, if you actually hit 0 fish, this pond is now officially extinct and it will not recover ever. This pond hit 0 on June, year 2. Fast forwarding to March of year 3, the following year, and you can see that no fish. Maybe they'll come back in April. Actually, no, they won't. April 1st, 0 fish. Guys, don't let your fish pond hit 0. Alright, so we know how fishing works. We know the fish extraction rate per family. We also know how the fish grow and when they grow. So the question now is, how many families do we need given a fish pool size? And what fishing reserve limit should we use for that particular pool? Now for the first example, I'm going with 400, which is typical for a rich fish deposit. The dotted lines, which go up like a staircase, that's the total amount of fish that you can extract in a given year, where on the x-axis is the actual timeline starting from the 1st of March all the way until the end of February the next year. The solid lines with the sawtooth pattern, that's the number of fish that's currently in the pond. And before I go into what the blue, black, and red colors mean, I want to say that what we're trying to accomplish here is to fish the pond down to the minimum reserve limit. Then come March the 1st, the pond goes back to 100%, at which point we fish it again down to the reserve limit, just in time for the 1st of April, fish it down to the reserve again, just in time for 1st of May, and then for the 3rd time, fish it down to the reserve limit, and stopping at that point until the next year. If you have enough workers to do all that fishing within a 1-month period 3 times, and if you have the correct reserve limit, you will maximize the total amount of fish you can extract per year without wasting any fish that comes in the spring growth and without depleting the pool. Now, the reserve limit, just purely based on math, should be 71.4% of the maximum. That way, if it grows by 1.4 3 times, the pool returns to 100% on the 1st of May. So for March, April, and May, the pool will be jumping between 71 and 100%. But this only works if you have enough workers to fish from 100 to 71.4 within 1 month. And for a pool size of 400, that's going to take 4 families. That's what the blue lines mean. That's when you have enough workers and you have the fish reserve limit set to 71.4%, which in this case is 286. This will get you an amazing 335 fish for the year, every year, forever. If you use 286 but don't have enough workers, you'll only get 289 fish. That's because the fishing rate was too slow, and when the growth spurt happened, the number of fish exceeded 100%, which basically means you never get those fish. That's what the red lines represent. There simply aren't enough workers to fish the pool back down to the reserve limit, so that when the next growth spurt happens, you don't get the full 40% because you're capped at 100. So if you don't have enough workers, you should have used a lower reserve limit, that's indicated by the black line, so that 40% growth is captured 3 times, with the pool hitting 100% only on the last one. And in this case, for a pool size of 400, which actually requires 4 families, if you add 3 families, the limit should be 66% instead of 71.4. So in that case, it's 265. And in terms of total fish extracted for the year, that would be 314 instead of 289. At this point, you might be thinking, damn, that's a lot of math for 10 or 20% more fish. So I leave you with this. The full table of results for max pool sizes anywhere from 100 to 400, telling you exactly how many families you need to assign and what the fishing reserve limit should be. You can go ahead and pause right here and take a look. I also have the timestamp in the description if you ever need to come back and refer to it. And that's basically it for fishing research. Thanks for watching.